Swifter, this is Table School video number 4. This is the solution video for the prior challenge where we create a new view controller, create a Swift file for it, set up our two segues, our present modally and our show segue, and set up our cancel button. So step 1, embed the view controller in a navigation controller. We'll open up Party Planner, go to main storyboard. To embed a view controller in a navigation controller, you click on the little circle that highlights the view controller, then go under Editor, Embed in, Navigation Controller, and boom, it's added right over to the left. Next, add a second view controller to display the party item and the person responsible, and embed this new view controller in its own navigation controller. So to add a new view controller, we go into our object library, type in view controller, drag it over, release it onto our main storyboard, and then to embed it in a navigation controller, we repeat the same thing here with this view controller selected, go up under Editor, Embed in, Navigation Controller. Now I'm going to take this navigation controller, I'm just going to move it up here so that it's positioned the same way that we're familiar with from our previous example. And again, you can start to compare this with what you did previously. This is what we had set up in our student list. We've still got a little ways to go here. But the steps that we need to perform are listed. Next, create a Swift file for this new view controller and call it detail view controller and set the identity of the new view controller to detailviewcontroller.swift. So here we are in Party Planner. I'm going to create this file right underneath my view controller file, so I'll right-click on view controller, select new file. This is a Cocoa Touch class. Next, it's subclass of UI view controller. Make sure that's selected. I'm going to give this the name detail view controller. Click on next. Click on create. This file's created. I'm going to get rid of some of the comments that I don't need that are in here. Make sure you've got the right number of close curlies. Make sure that you haven't deleted your view did load. Go back to main storyboard. Now click on this new view controller. Go up under the identity inspector and under class, select the class file you just added, which is detail view controller. Press return to accept this. And now when you hover your cursor over the little ball, it should say detail view controller and it should say detail view controller in your document outline. Next step. Create a show segue to go directly from the TableView cell to the new detail view controller, and this should trigger when a user clicks on that TableView cell. Set the identifier to this to show detail. So we click on our TableView cell, make sure that it's the cell that's highlighted and not the content view. I'm going to control drag right from here over to my new view controller, let go. This should be a show segue. I'm going to click on the segue, the little ball right here, so that the segue highlights. Sometimes it's tough to do, but you can just make your screen larger. Then I should see in my identity inspector for my storyboard segue, I can give my show segue an identifier, and I'll call this show detail, upper camel case, no space. Press enter. Next, add a plus bar button item to the upper right-hand corner of the view controller containing the table view. So here I am. This is my view controller containing the table view. I'm going to click on plus, type in bar button item, drag it over here to the upper right-hand corner. Now it's in the navigation item area, which is exactly where I want it. I'm going to change the system item to say add. It turns into a plus. Now when clicked, the plus button should trigger a present modally segue arrived at via the navigation controller that the detail view controller is embedded in, and I should set this segue identifier to the name add detail. So let's go ahead and do this. So to create a segue from clicking this button to this navigation controller that will eventually get me into the new view controller, I simply click on my plus bar button item over here, control drag up into my new view controller here, which is the one that this guy is embedded in, let go, select present modally, click on this segue, give the identifier, and again, this is my present modally segue here, give it the name add detail, upper camel case, no space, press enter, done. Then down here, Modify the interface for Detail View Controller to include a cancel bar button item in the upper left-hand corner and a save button in the upper right-hand corner, and create an IB action for cancel button pressed. Now, I'm also going to create party item and person responsible in these two text fields here. So let's go ahead and do this. I'm going to click on plus to add. I want a label. I'm going to click on plus to add something else, and this is going to be a text field. Make these larger. For my first label, I'm going to say party item. I'm going to drag both of these so these are over on the left-hand side, not part item, but party item. And I didn't say that you had to set it to any particular font, but on the previous slide, I also have this as Avenir Next Condensed. So I'll select that. I'll make it 24. And so that it shows up nicely, I'll make it bold as well. I'm going to stretch out my text field from end to end. Now that I've got my party item and my text field, I'm going to highlight these two guys, Command D to duplicate them, drag down below, and I'm going to change the second label to person responsible : Now, both of these labels with the static text fields should have their size inspector auto resizing, linking them to the top left corner, but I want to set up the size inspector auto resizing for my text fields so that it's linked not only to the top center, but also the left and the right. And I'm going to click on the horizontal resizing here as well. So if I take a look and see how would this look like on a smaller device, everything resizes perfectly. I'll go back to what I was designing on before. Now I need to add a save and a cancel button. So I'll click on my bar button item here. I'll click on my object library, search for bar button item, drag one button over to the left-hand side, go into my attributes inspector, change it to system item cancel, click on the library again, drag another bar button item over to the right, change the system item to save. Then I need to create an IB action for the cancel button. So I'm going to click on my detail view controller.swift, option click on main storyboard, control drag from my cancel button just before my close curly in detail view controller, let go, call this cancel button pressed, change the type to UI bar button item, click on connect, write my code in here. Now you could write the code, but one of the nice things about these software Legos that I've mentioned is none of the code is going to change. So as long as your cancel button is pressed, you can copy this whole function. Otherwise, you can copy what's just inside of the function and paste it in from your previous project and reuse it in your new project. So I'm going to do exactly that. I'm in Party Planner. I'm going to go back to my student list, find my cancel button pressed code inside of Student Detail View Controller. I'm going to highlight what's inside of this function, Command C to select it. Make sure that you select just what's inside of the function. Go back into Party Planner and then paste what I just copied into cancel button pressed, and that gives me the code that I need. This should do everything. Let's build and run and see. Click plus to add. We segue up from the bottom. We can see a view controller. We're going through a navigation controller because we've got this up top. We click on cancel. Our code is checking to see if we were presented via a navigation controller, and if it is, we dismiss. What if we click here on salsa? We segue over using a show segue. If I click on cancel, this verifies that I didn't present via add mode, which must mean that I'm presenting from the previous view controller, which means I can pop it off of the existing view controller stack. And that's what happens when we slide to the left. Show segue, pop, present modally, dismiss. Good work.